A designer can walk into your living room and tell you exactly what is wrong with it in under 30 seconds. Not because they are smarter than you, not because they have better taste than you, but because they are trained to see 10 invisible rules that most homeowners have never even heard of. So what are those rules? Why does breaking them quietly drag down even the most expensive rooms in the country? And which ones are sabotaging your living room right now, even though everything in it was carefully chosen and paid for? Today we are walking through the 10 decorating rules designers are practically begging people to stop breaking. And I am saving the most damaging one for last. Rule number 1 is the silent sabotage that controls every other room in this country. Once you see it, you will not be able to walk through your own house the same way again. So stay with me until the end. If you are tired of decorating in the dark, subscribe and hit that like button right now. But first, let us start with number 10. Rule 10. The architecture you have been fighting for years. Have you ever noticed that some homes feel calm the moment you walk in, even when they are full of furniture? Other homes feel slightly off, slightly tense, no matter how clean they are. Here is the answer. Your decor is fighting the architecture of your house instead of following it. Look up at your ceiling. Look at the line where your staircase climbs the wall. Look at the height of your window frames. Every one of those edges is a line your eye is silently tracking. And when your art, your curtains, and your lamps ignore those lines, the brain registers conflict. Frank Lloyd Wright built his entire Prairie School around this principle, anchoring every piece of furniture to the horizontal lines of the landscape. So how do you fix it? Stop and look before you hang anything. If your ceiling vaults upward, your curtains belong near the ceiling, not at the top of the window frame. If your staircase climbs at a diagonal, your gallery wall climbs with it. When the decor finally agrees with the architecture, the room exhales. Your guests will not know what changed. They will just say the room feels calmer and more finished. And speaking of being heard, number 9 is the styling mistake that screams amateur the moment a designer walks into your home. The soldier. Lineup that screams amateur. Why do photographs of Studio McGee or amber interiors look effortless, while your living room photographs look stiff? It is not the lighting. It is something called the designer overlap. Walk into any one of those photographs and notice that nothing is lined up like soldiers. A floral stem leans across the edge of a framed mirror. A small piece of art sits propped in front of a larger one. A candle nudges itself in front of a stack of books. This intentional layering is borrowed from classical painting, where depth was always built with overlapping planes. The brain reads occlusion as depth. When one object partially covers another, your eye automatically infers 3 dimensions. When everything sits in a perfect row, the brain reads it as a shelf at a store. Nate Berkus put it best when he said that layering in different patterns keeps a room from looking too studied. So here's the question I want you to ask tonight. Are your objects standing apart like strangers in an elevator, or are they leaning into each other like a real conversation? Pull 2 pieces closer until they kiss. That single inch of overlap is the difference between staged and styled. Now, speaking of staged, number 8 is the one thing missing from almost every American living room. And it is the cheapest thing on this list to fix. The naked window crime. Why does a room with bare windows feel cold, even when the walls are painted in warm colors? Because a naked window sends a message that your room is not finished, the way a suit jacket without a shirt says something was forgotten. Use curtains. Always use curtains. Even when your windows do not need privacy. Even when the view is beautiful. Even when you swore you would never deal with another curtain rod again. Wallpaper Magazine reported in 2025 that drapery has become the biggest trend in residential interiors because post-pandemic homes are starving for softness and that sense of being held by a room. So, how do you hang them correctly? Hang the rod near the ceiling, not at the top of the window. Extend the rod 6 to 10 inches beyond the window frame on each side. Let the panels just kiss the floor, never floating above it like high water pants. Maria Killam, one of the most respected color experts in North America, says that when a room feels unfinished even after you have spent on furniture and paint, the answer is almost always curtains. $30 panels hung correctly will outperform $300 panels hung incorrectly every single time. And if you are still living with those vertical plastic blinds from 1996, please hear me with love. They were never decoration. They were a placeholder that has overstayed its welcome by almost 3 decades. Speaking of overdue, number 7 lives on the one piece of furniture you see first thing every morning. The flat bed that gives you away. Why does your bed never look like the beds in boutique hotels, no matter how nice your sheets are? It is not the thread count. It is the Euro pillows. You need them. 2 for a queen, 3 for a king, 1 for a twin. The Euro pillow is 26 inches by 26 inches, and it is not a decorative afterthought. It is the architectural backrest your headboard cannot create on its own. So why does this work? The brain reads a styled bed in layers, from the headboard forward, the way a painter reads a landscape from horizon to foreground. Euro pillows first, then your standard sleeping pillows in front, then your lumbar or accent pillow at the very front. 3 layers, descending in height. The bed-in-a-bag set sold at department stores in 2005 almost never included Euro pillows, which is why your bed still looks slightly flat no matter how expensive your duvet was. Here is the question to ask when you make your bed tomorrow morning. Does the back of my bed have height, or is it just one flat row of pillows leaning against the headboard? If your answer is the second one, that is what is keeping your bedroom from looking finished. And speaking of layers, number 6 is happening on the most photographed surface in your living room. The book tower that looks like clutter. Why does your coffee table feel cluttered even after you have cleared it 3 times this week? Because you are stacking too many books. Stop stacking more than 3. The instant you stack 4, 5, or 6 books, you have built a tower, and the brain reads towers as clutter, not as decor. A stack of 2 or 3 books works as a pedestal, a tiny plinth that elevates whatever you place on top of it, a small ceramic bowl, a candle, a piece of coral. The 3-5-7 styling method, written about by Homes and Gardens and Living Ec, says that odd-numbered groupings create rhythm because the eye cannot split them evenly. 2 stacks of 3 books with a small object on top will always look more intentional than 1 tower of 6. So here's the harder question for our generation. The paperback novels from 1994 with the cracked spines and yellowed pages, are those really coffee table books, or are they just memories you have not edited yet? Box them up and bring them to a side shelf. The coffee table is for hard covers, with beautiful spines and oversized art books. Edit ruthlessly, and your room will thank you. Now, speaking of feeling weighed down, number 5 is the reason your suburban home feels low and heavy. The low-heavy room that presses down on you. Have you ever walked into your own living room and felt strangely tired even though you just got there? That is not in your head. That is the room pressing down on you. Every piece of furniture you own sits between 30 to 36 inches tall, which traps your eye in a horizontal band and leaves the upper half of the room completely abandoned. The fix is to add 1 tall vertical element to every single room. A floor lamp, a 6-foot olive tree in a stoneware pot, a floor mirror leaned against the wall, a pedestal with a tall vase of branches. Just 1, not 5. Studio McGee built their entire signature aesthetic on this single move. That olive tree you see in every one of their photographs is the vertical anchor that connects the floor to the ceiling and makes an 8-foot ceiling feel like 10. So look around your living room right now. Is there a single object in that room taller than 5 feet that is not a piece of furniture? If the answer is no, you have just found the reason your room feels closed in. Add 1 tall thing tonight, and the eye finally has somewhere to climb. We are now halfway through this list, and the next 4 rules are the ones that hurt the most, because most people spent real money trying to fix these problems and made them worse. Starting with number 4, the hidden bulb. That cheapens every room. Why does your living room feel like a doctor's waiting room at night, even though you spent years choosing the right furniture? It is not the furniture, it is the bulb inside the lamp. A lamp serves 2 jobs that most people accidentally collapse into one. When the lamp is off, it is a piece of sculpture. When the lamp is on, it creates atmosphere, and the temperature of the bulb decides whether your room feels like a home or a hospital. So here is the rule: 2,700 to 3,000. Kelvin gives you warm, intimate, honey-colored light. 5,000 Kelvin and above gives you cold blue clinical light. Most people bought daylight LED bulbs in the 2010s thinking they were upgrading, and instead they accidentally turned their living rooms into waiting rooms. Walk over to your lamps right now. Look at the box the bulb came in. If it says 5,000 Kelvin or daylight, that is your problem. Swap them out tonight for warm white. The room will feel 10 years younger before you finish your coffee tomorrow morning. Now, speaking of feeling older than you are, number 3 is the invisible thread that separates a collected home from a chaotic one. The missing thread that reads as random. Why does your living room feel disjointed, even though you love every single piece in it? Because nothing in the room is echoing. Echo your materials. Pick a finish, any finish. Brass, rattan, linen, a specific wood tone. That material needs to appear in your room 2 or 3 times on different surfaces at different heights. Not the same piece repeated. Different objects in the same material. A brass lamp, a brass picture frame across the room, and a brass candle holder on a shelf. So why does the brain need this? Because the brain hunts for patterns, and when it finds 3 echoes of the same finish, it registers the space as intentional. Homes and Gardens calls repetition essential for visual harmony, and the rule of 3 creates a triangle that the eye travels across the room. Here is the trap our generation grew up with: the matching bedroom set, where every piece was the same wood. That is not echoing. That is matching, and matching reads as a furniture showroom from 1996. Mixed wood tones echoed 3 times reads as collected and confident. So look at your living room and ask yourself, can I find 3 echoes of any single material in this room? If you cannot, that is why it feels random. Now, number 2 might surprise you, because it is the one place where every other rule on this list collapses at the same time. The dead corner that drains the room. Why does your living room feel heavy on one side and empty on the other? It is the empty corner. Every dead corner in your home is a missed opportunity. A vignette of 3 layered objects, a tall plant in a woven basket, an accent chair with a small side table and a floor lamp creating a reading nook, a pedestal topped with a large vase of dried branches, anything that softens the harsh 90-degree angle where 2 walls meet. HGTV magazine has written for years that vignettes are what separate polished rooms from random rooms. So what is the formula? 1 anchor piece that is the tallest, 1 secondary piece that is medium height, 1 finishing piece that is low or soft, 3 points forming a triangle. The corner stops being dead space and becomes a small story. And here is the gentle truth for any of you who still have that dusty silk plant from 1998 standing in the corner. It is time. Let it go. Replace it with 1 real plant, or even 1 good faux from the current decade, and the entire room steps forward in time. Dead corners drain a room the way a slow leak drains a tire. And now, the moment I have been building toward since the beginning of this video. Number 1. The silent sabotage that explains why 90% of American living rooms still look unfinished. This is the rule that controls all the others. The missing foreground that betrays every room. Why do some rooms feel like a home while other rooms feel like a showroom that no one actually lives in? The answer is the rule of 3 planes. Every truly designed room has a background, a middle ground, and a foreground, exactly the way a painting does. The background is your walls, your curtains, your large art, your window treatments. The middle ground is your major furniture, your lamps, your shelving. The foreground is the small layer of decoration that lives on top of the middle ground. Your throw pillows, your books, your bowls, your tabletop styling. Most rooms in America have a strong background and a strong middle ground and absolutely nothing in the foreground, which is why they read as unfinished even when expensive. So ask yourself this: you bought the sofa, you bought the rug, you painted the walls, you hung the art, but what did you add on top of all of it? If the answer is nothing, your room is reading as a stage set instead of a lived-in home. Nate Berkus, in his book The Things That Matter, wrote that a home is never truly done. Layering, he says, is the slow, continuous act of telling your own story through objects. You do not have to start over. You do not have to spend thousands. You just have to add the foreground that has been missing for the last 10 or 15 years. A textured throw folded at the edge of the sofa. A bowl with 3 pieces of fruit. The room will finally feel like it is exhaling and like it is yours. This is rule number 1 because every other rule lives or dies depending on whether you finally add the foreground. The foreground is what turns a furnished room into a home, and 90% of homes in this country are missing it without knowing. So here is where we land. 10 rules. 10 quiet sabotages that have been working against your home without you knowing. Now I want you to do one thing before you close this video. Walk into your living room, look at your coffee table, and tell me in the comments, is there anything in the foreground right now, or is your coffee table completely bare? Just answer yes or no. That single answer tells me exactly which video to make for you next. And if this video opened your eyes, subscribe and hit that like button, because the next video on screen shows you the 5 decorating mistakes that will already look completely dated by 2026. You do not want to be the last one to find out.